Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. If you enjoyed today's blog, please hit the subscribe. We'd love to include you on all our future blogs. We've got some good ones coming up, I can assure you. Today's Hellraiser blog, I am going to cover a fight for the British Super-Welterweight title. It's Asinia Byfield versus Ted Cheeseman. For reasons that I'll explain to you briefly, I'm not going to do the technical side of the fight too much because shortly after I'd finished negotiating the deal for the fight, Asinia Byfield claimed that he did not sign his management contract, which I'm saying, yes, he did sign his management contract, and it was over a year ago. But after I'd finished negotiating the fight, he put a claim in saying that he did not sign it. And so we're in dispute, and that needs to go to the where it is with the boxing board, and we'll have a hearing, and they will give us their findings in the hearing and make their decision. But because of the fact that that's, I suppose, I don't want to give anyone any leverage to say, you know, oh, that was a really low blow, to go and do a technical analysis of the fight that pointed out the fighter that you were managing, his shortcomings or any weaknesses that he can have, that his opponent then exploited and beat him. Because Ted Cheeseman might well beat him, and I don't want to give anyone any leverage, any sort of opportunity to say that that's what I've done, because I wouldn't do that. It's not of any benefit to me. It's actually of benefit to me if Byfield does win it, because at the moment I'm his manager. After this hearing, hopefully I'll still be his manager, and I get paid more if he's fighting in bigger fights. It's a very tough fight, that's for sure. And even without going into the technical side of it, like the boxing technical side of it, there's still, I think, some interesting points that we can cover in how the fight was made, how it came about, because Byfield, well, both of their routes actually to the British title were quite unorthodox. I mean, Byfield was a Southern Area champion. He beat Eric Ocheng, who's a good fighter from Haringey, Tottenham sort of way, who I used to sponsor the Haringey amateur boxing club, so I knew Eric Ocheng from a long way back. Asinia Byfield beat him in a close fight. Then he defended against John Brennan, who he beat, who he stopped. Then he defended against Sam McNess, who he also stopped. Byfield's a good technical fighter. He's not really a one-punch knockout guy, but he punches hard enough to certainly to stop Sam McNess and to stop you know, certain opponents like John Brennan that he stopped. Very accurate and good volume of punches, good work rate. He really sort of, I guess, was catapulted in terms of media exposure with the fight with Sam McNess. For one, there was loads of trouble that night. There was like a riot in the crowd. There was a lot of problems, and a lot of media coverage that wasn't necessarily positive for Byfield. But I guess it, you know, they say no news is bad news or something. But right, anyway, he got a lot of exposure, not necessarily just for the boxing part, but because the event was fairly explosive in the crowd as well as in the ring. But it was a great result for Byfield. He beat an unbeaten opponent, and now he has taken quite an unorthodox route to the British title, which I'm going to cover. Like I say, the actual fight itself, I think, is a fascinating one. I think it's really interesting, and if I wasn't in the situation that I'm in, I would take great pleasure in analysing it. I have analysed it many times in my head already, but like I say, I can't really afford to be seen to be sort of pointing out, oh, if he does this, it'll probably work. I don't think it will if he does it this way. I can't do it. So let's look at how the fight was made. This fight went to purse bids, and I get asked all the time, how does this purse bids thing work? What's this purse bid? I don't understand who gets to win when it's... Right, this is how it is. Imagine in football you have the FA Cup, the teams play each other, the winner goes through to the next round, the loser is eliminated till next year. Right, boxing's sort of the same. Two fighters, the boxing board will say, right, this is an eliminator. These two are going to fight each other. You have so long to negotiate the fight. If you can come to an agreement, who's going to get what venue, what date, all good. We'll go along with it. If you don't, that's when it will go to purse bids. So first we had an agreement for Asinia Byfield to fight a guy called Joe Pigford from Southampton. After we'd agreed it, Joe Pigford was withdrawn. I don't know why. I've not heard anything about him since he was withdrawn. He's not boxed since then. I don't know what happened, but he was out. He's gone. So then we were made to take part in an eliminator contest for Asinia Byfield to box James Metcalf. Very good fighter, really tricky. That would have been a really hard fight for Asinia, a really, really hard fight, because James Metcalf's half decent. I mean, even more than half decent. He's good. But we went to purse bids, and I won the purse bid. I was very surprised because James Metcalf boxes on Queensbury shows on BT Sport, worked with, like, you know, Frank Warren, all this sort of thing, and I'm thinking, even though I was bidding too much for my budget, I was bidding that much because I wanted to get home advantage for my guy, for Asinia. So I thought, even if I lose money on the show, I lose it, at least we get home advantage, and we've got half a chance at least of, you know, if he can get it right on the night, we might get the win. After purse bids, James Metcalf was withdrawn. So it was good news in a way, because it meant I didn't lose money putting that fight on, but it was bad news in that we wanted to box. You know, it's very frustrating when you keep, like, waiting. It takes a long time to go to the purse bids, and then the fight isn't going to happen anyway. So then we were put forwards, and like I say, it's like the FA Cup, each round. But imagine, like, if Charlton Athletic, I've got at least one viewer who I know is a big Charlton Athletic fan for the Hellraiser blog. So if Charlton Athletic are going to play Manchester United, they would have to negotiate where we're going to play, who's going to get which percentage of the gate, of the TV, of the sponsorship, and eventually they either come to an agreement or you go to purse bids, which is like a blind auction. Anyone with a promoter's license with a valid bond can put the bid in. So, like, not quite like the FA Cup, this can happen. James Metcalf, after we'd won, he was withdrawn. Right, so then what we're going to do? Well, then they said you're going to go to purse bids again, or make an agreement to box Liam Williams. All well and good, that's another half fight. I mean, Liam Williams, you could say, is almost above British title level now. But coming off a loss, okay, so when he comes, and Liam Williams withdrew shortly, right before the purse bid. I think it was like one day before the purse bid. So he waited all that time, and then no fight again. Quite frustrating, but this is, unfortunately, especially if you go independently outside of the big promoters, this is something you have to be ready for and just accept it. That's the way the world is. But you have a lot more freedom, and you can potentially earn more money when you're a free agent. So then, and this is why it's not like the FA Cup again, Ted Cheeseman had withdrawn earlier. So he was going to go to purse bids against someone, and they withdrew him. They took him out. They said, no, we don't want to do that. We're out. We're going to go and fight for some other title instead. So we just carried on. But then, because everyone else had also withdrawn, or been excluded one way or another, Ted Cheeseman was allowed to come back in. So he came out in the first round and comes back in the final. Great. Win the FA Cup every year that way. So Asinia Byfield was now put to box Ted Cheeseman. If you have any questions, if you can't follow, you can just send me a message, or send me I think below you can put comments, and I will come back. I always read them all eventually, and I will come back to you. So this fight, and people always ask me about the gambling, because I like gambling on boxing. It's something but the bookmakers haven't even put the odds up for this fight, which I'm actually astounded by, because I've been getting bombarded with people asking me who do I think, because they want to bet on the fight. And I would imagine Ted Cheeseman will be a strong favourite. I think if you're looking for betting value, I think quite likely Asinia Byfield will nick some of the early rounds, which means that the in-play betting will start to favour him. The price will get better. But I think the second half of the fight, I think Byfield's got a really, really tough time on his hands. And like I say, I'm not going to give you a prediction on this one, but I think Cheeseman has a lot of the traits that you'd look for someone that could grind an opponent down. But we'll see. It's an interesting fight, and I will watch it even if I'm not going to be there. Anyway, guys, once again, if you want more news in future, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to give it all to you. and enjoy the fight. See you soon. Bye bye.